Hello guys, welcome to yet another wonderful session of learning with Prep Class. My name is Tutor Olalikon Israel, your Prep Class English tutor, and I am super excited to have you join me in today's session of learning. Now in today's session, we will be answering questions from the WAEC English 2018 past question 16 to question 20. Remember, the purpose of this session is to help you prepare for your forthcoming WAEC examination. So, without wasting much time, let's get down to the business of today. Before we begin, kindly take a moment to subscribe to this channel, turn on the post notification so you can be notified whenever we upload any new content. Alright, let's roll. The instruction reads section 2. Now, from the words lettered A to D, choose the word that best completes each of the following sentences. From the words lettered A to D, choose the word that best completes each of the following sentences. Question 16 reads, the defense counsel was unable to convince the dash of John's innocence. The defense counsel was unable to convince the dash of John's innocence. Now, this is a court scenario. This is a court situation. The defense counsel was unable to convince the dash of John's innocence. So which of the options is the best to complete this sentence? Option A, plaintiff. The defense counsel was unable to convince the plaintiff of John's innocence. Option B, the defense counsel was unable to convince the witness of John's innocence. Option C, the defense counsel was unable to convince the panel of John's innocence. Option D, the defense counsel was unable to convince the jury of John's innocence. So which of these options is the best to complete this sentence? Now, first, who is a defense counsel? A defense counsel is somebody that is set to defend an accused. So the defense counsel was unable to convince the dash of John's innocence. A plaintiff is a person who brings a case against another person in a court of law. So as a defense counsel, it is not your duty to convince the plaintiff. The plaintiff is the person that brought up the charge. So you're not supposed to convince the plaintiff. So plaintiff is not the answer to this question. Option B, a witness is a person who sees an event, typically a crime or accident. So you are not supposed to convince a witness. A witness has seen what he or she has seen. You are not supposed to convince the witness as a defense counsel. Option C, a panel is a small group of people brought together. A small group of people brought together to investigate or decide on a particular matter. As a defense counsel in a court of law, you are not supposed to convince a panel because you don't have a panel. You don't have a panel in a court. Although a panel is brought together to investigate or decide on a particular matter, but in a court scenario, panel is not the appropriate word. Probably in an organization, a panel would have been right. In a school, a panel would have been right. But the answer to this question is a jury. A jury is a body of people. A jury is a body of people, typically 12 in number, sworn to give a verdict in a legal case. Remember, this situation is a court scenario, the defense counsel. So, a jury is a body of people, typically 12 in number, sworn to give a verdict in a legal case on the basis of evidence submitted to them in court. So, as a defense counsel, you are supposed to convince the jury because the jury will give a verdict. They are supposed to give a verdict in the case. So you are supposed to convince them. But here, the defense counsel was unable to convince the jury of John's innocence. So the answer to this question is option D. The defense counsel was unable to convince the jury of John's innocence. Alright, moving on to the next question, question 17. Remember, we had to select the option that best completes this sentence. Question 17 reads, unfortunately, corruption is the dash of most African countries. Oh, sorry, the C is missing in African there. Unfortunately, corruption is the dash of most African countries. A, unfortunately, corruption is the venom of most African countries. B, unfortunately, corruption is the bane of most African countries. C, unfortunately, corruption is the disaster of most African countries. D, unfortunately, Corruption is the backbone of most African countries. So, which of these options is the best to complete this sentence? Now, the answer to this question is option B, bane. Unfortunately, corruption is the bane of most African countries. What does bane mean? Bane means a cause of continuous trouble and unhappiness. A cause of continuous trouble and unhappiness that tends to destroy something. Unfortunately, corruption is the bane of most African countries. Corruption in most African countries has led to continuous trouble and unhappiness. Corruption is the bane of most African countries because corrupt leaders would not always provide the necessary things to make the lives of its citizens better. So it continually causes trouble and unhappiness, and it tends to destroy the country. So bane means a cause of continuous trouble and unhappiness that tends to destroy something. Now, it is not venom because venom refers to a poisonous substance secreted by animals. Now, it is not disaster because disaster is an event that results in great harm, damage or death or serious difficulty. You can't say, unfortunately, corruption is the disaster of most African countries. That is the wrong construction. Now, it is not backbone. Backbone is a method of support for something. Unfortunately, corruption is the backbone of most African countries. Is corruption supporting African countries? No, it is destroying. It is the bane of most African countries. So, the answer to this question is option B. Unfortunately, corruption is the bane of most African countries. Right. Moving on to the next question, question 18. Remember, we had selected the option that best completes this sentence. Question 18 reads, the dash result proved that the patient had hepatitis. The dash result proved that the patient had hepatitis. A. The investigation result proved that the patient had hepatitis. B. The diagnosis result proved that the patient had hepatitis. C. The probe result proved that the patient had hepatitis. D. The test result proved that the patient had hepatitis. Now, looking at these options already, the answer is between options B and option D. The answer is between option B and D. The diagnosis result proved that the patient had hepatitis. D. The test result proved that the patient had hepatitis. Now, these two answers are actually correct, but which of them is the best to complete this sentence? Now, all of the options refer to a method of studying, checking to identify something. If you are investigating, you are studying something, you are checking something, you want to know the cause for something. A diagnosis is also what you try to check for the cause of something or what is the cause of a problem. Probe as well, you are also checking. Test, you are also checking for something. But in this context of this sentence, the best option is diagnosis. Diagnosis is a medical jargon. It's a medical register. It's a medical term. Now, diagnosis is the art or act of identifying a disease from its signs and symptoms. Now, we have a disease, a sickness in the sentence hepatitis. Now, diagnosis is the art or act of identifying a disease from its signs and symptoms. The diagnosis results proved that the patient had hepatitis. Now, it is not test because the word test has a wider meaning. If you have been studying a course and want to check for your progress in learning, they can actually give you a test. So the word test is not limited to what sicknesses, but diagnosis. The first thing that comes to mind is trying to identify a disease from its signs and symptoms. The diagnosis results proved that the patient had hepatitis. So, the answer to this question is option B. The diagnosis results proved that the patient had hepatitis. Diagnosis is the best to complete this sentence. Diagnosis is a medical term. Patient, hepatitis, all of these are medical terms. So, the best option is also a medical term, diagnosis. The diagnosis results proved that the patient had hepatitis. Alright, moving on to the next question, question 19. Remember, we had to select the option that best completes this sentence. Question 19 reads, the new book has beautiful dash which makes it attractive. A. The new book has beautiful illustrations which makes it attractive. B. The new book has beautiful demonstration which makes it attractive. C. The new book has beautiful illumination which makes it attractive. D. The new book has beautiful composition which makes it attractive. Now, the best answer for this question is option A, illustrations. Now, what are illustrations? The new book has beautiful illustrations which makes it attractive. Now, an illustration is a decoration. Now, you know a decoration is supposed to make something attractive. An illustration is a decoration, interpretation, or visual explanation of a text. An illustration is a decoration, interpretation, or visual explanation of a text, concept or process designed for integration in published media such as posters, flyers, magazines, books, teaching materials, animations, video games, and films. In simpler terms, illustrations are pictures or drawings. So, this sentence is saying that the new book has beautiful pictures, beautiful drawings, beautiful illustrations which makes it attractive. The answer to this question is option A. Okay, moving on to the next question, question 20. Remember, we had to select the option that best completes this sentence. Question 20 reads, their marriage was finally dashed after years of hostility. Their marriage was finally dashed after years of hostility. A. Their marriage was finally cancelled after years of hostility. B. Their marriage was finally annulled after years of hostility. C. Their marriage was finally broken after years of hostility. D. Their marriage was finally separate after years of hostility. So which of these options is the best to complete this sentence? Now, the answer to this question is option C, broken. Their marriage was finally broken after years of hostility. Now, marriage is an agreement, so you can actually break an agreement. It's an agreement between two people to get married, to become husband and wife. Now, a broken marriage is a marriage that has ended as a result of irreconcilable differences, as a result of irreconcilable issues. Now, when issues arise and both parties cannot resolve them, either one party files for a divorce or they both agree to end. That is, they both agree to break the marriage. The marriage is an agreement, so they can break the agreement. Therefore, the agreement to become husband and wife has been broken. So, their marriage was finally broken. It was ended after years of hostility. Now, it is not annulled, because annulment means to declare invalid. You declare it invalid. It's like saying the marriage never existed in the first place. Probably some things were not made clear before they actually got married. So, the annul means to declare invalid. Now, it is not cancelled. Cancelled is not an appropriate term to use in filling the blank space. It is not separated. Separated also is not appropriate. A marriage cannot be separated. Only the couple can be separated because they were joined as one. The couple can actually be separated, but the marriage cannot be separated. The marriage can only be broken. When the marriage gets annulled, it's like saying that both people never married in the first place. No record will point to them as husband and wives again. It has been declared invalid. Okay, so the answer to this question is option C. Their marriage was finally broken after years of hostility. Marriage is an agreement. An agreement can be broken if you're no longer okay with the terms of the agreement. So the answer to this question is option C. And with that, we've come to the end of this wonderful session. Please do not forget to subscribe to this channel. If you enjoyed this video, click on the like button. Do not forget to turn on the post notification so you can be notified whenever we upload any new content. If you have any questions for us, drop them in the comment section. Do not forget to share this content with your friends and loved ones. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.